What's up, guys? How's it going? So, you know how I was like, I don't want to be millennial cringe doing my little talk on here while I'm waiting to get all these things going. I have something even more millennial cringe for you. Are you guys ready? If you know, there's like a very, if you know, you know. But if you know, you can definitely sing it with me.
Your eyes tell the stories of the day you wish you could. Recall the moments that once have. Retract the footsteps that brought us to this fame. I wouldn't ask this of you. Good eyes, sniper. You know I shoot, you run. The words you scribbled on the walls with the lots of friends you didn't have. I called you when the time is right. Are you in or are you out? For them all to know the end of a soul. Run quick, they're behind us. Didn't think we'd ever make it this close to safety in one piece. Now you wanna kill me in the act of what could maybe save us from sleep and what we are. A good eye sniper. Now I shoot, you run. The words you scribbled on the walls with the lots of friends you didn't have. I called you when the time is right. Are you in or are you out? For them all to know the end of a soul. Bye bye, beautiful. I don't bother to write. You stand by your words, and they're calling all cars. They step back down. They step down. The words you scribbled on the walls with the lots of friends you didn't have. I called you when the time is right. Are you in or are you out? For they want to know. Bye bye, beautiful. Don't bother to write. Just stand by your words, and they're calling all cars. They step back down. They step down. Bye bye, beautiful. Don't bother to write. Just stand by your words, and they're calling all cars. The face step let down. The face step down.
How do we tell? Like I very much want to show a snip of this video to TikTok, and I'd love to welcome you, TikTok, here to our live stream today. This is the third of 4 calls on the Enneagram. You can catch the replays on YouTube, but I really badly want to show you guys a clip of this music video because it's this totally like unexpected looking guy with this like peak soprano. And I mean, I think that that's what a soprano is. Anyways, Coheed and Cambria. Now, I was definitely more of a brand new girl. Honk your horn if you ever got down with brand new. Brand new was my fucking shit right there. But yeah, I was like, I don't want to be millennial cringe because you know how we're always like talking at the beginning of the live streams, okay, just open this. Sorry guys, just bear with me for a minute. I was like, I'm gonna start playing songs at the beginning of my calls again so that I don't have to deal with this. So welcome. This is the third of four calls on the Enneagram. In the first call, we talked about the face of God. And we talked about where the Enneagram comes from, what it is, and what the three laws are that explain how this works. Now, I need to tell you guys from the beginning, it took me a really long time to get this, and this isn't something that you can learn from ChatGPT. I mean, you can try, but when I learned it from ChatGPT, it taught me wrong. And this would be a very embarrassing thing to get wrong because you're trying to tell somebody else that you know it. It's math. So if your math is wrong, you're going to find out on camera that it's wrong. Hopefully, if that happens to you, you'll be humble enough to say, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. What's more likely going to happen is that you're going to pull something out of your ass because you don't want to look like an idiot and you're going to dig yourself deeper into it. Believe me, I'm very lucky that I didn't do this with the Enneagram, but I'm only lucky that I didn't do this with the Enneagram because I did it with spiral dynamics. And that was literally mortifying, where I'm like, I'm going to show you guys objectively how conscious moves upward, and I'm going to show you where I am in consciousness and where you are in consciousness. This was in pandemic, and I actually went down in consciousness, but thought I was going up because everybody always thinks they're more enlightened than they are. But I had actually descended in consciousness. And I literally found out on the call as I'm pointing to the diagram and I'm running out of words and I'm like, fuck, 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 fuck. That was like my big fuck as a teacher. So luckily I learned from that and I didn't do this on the Enneagram. But guys, like this is a way of using, like, if you want to know that you're getting results, if you want to know that you're making progress, if you never want to have to hire a coach again to help you figure out how to just like get organized and start, if you don't know what the next step is, if you are sick of being somebody that starts things but never finishes things, if you want to know that you're going to succeed, if you want to know when things are going to get hard and what to do, if you want to be able to guarantee results for your clients, if you want to be able to guarantee results for yourself, if you want to stop being disorganized, if you want to be able to handle multiple projects at once, if you want to be able to write books very easily because you can handle multiple storylines at once, if any of these things sound appealing to you, studying the master of all systems is one system that you learn that's embedded in any and all things. So everything that you do, whether it's in the business world or the creative world, is going to be on an Enneagram. Any successful event can be mapped start to finish on the Enneagram. So you're going to use this in your life for the rest of your life. But it's okay if you don't get it overnight. I didn't get it overnight. So what we're here to do on these calls is just repeat, repeat, repeat. Repetition is the mother of skill. All of you manifesting generators in the house, think that the clarity that you're looking for is by starting something new. I just had someone like this in Q&A. Thank you so much for showing me the Enneagrams of RIP, because all of my workshops are backed on the Enneagram. That's why they're so hard. And that's why everyone gets results, because I don't let you quit a magical process early. Someone's like, oh my God, I loved seeing the Enneagrams for RIP. That was super informative for me. I'm still really unclear on the Enneagram for RIP. So will you show me the Enneagrams for erotic wealth? And it's like, the clarity that you're looking for is not going to come from pulling in something new. It's going to come from repeating the same thing over and over again until it starts to make sense. Now, the Enneagram, each point is significant, each line is significant. Where you're stuck can be figured out by looking at the Enneagram. Gurdjieff said that like you could be trapped in the desert and draw an Enneagram in the sand and it would literally get you out of it. Like in all situations, the Enneagram can show you where you are, where you've been, and where you're going. Think about where you are in your life right now. Do you know exactly where you are? Like, what's the big thing you're trying to do? Are you trying to start a business? Are you trying to enter your pop-off era? Are you trying to write a book? Are you trying to switch careers? Are you trying to navigate a successful co-parenting relationship? Are you trying to embody the goddess? Like, literally, what are you trying to do? And do you know where you are in this process? Or are you like, oh, well, I said I was going to do it, so next step is fully evolved? Do you know where you're at? Do you know where you've been in this process? And do you know where you're going, or are you just winging it day by day? Because, like, you can wing it, that's fine. Or you could know where you're going. Intelligence is knowing where you are. Unfortunately, when people don't know where they are, they usually assume they're much further along than they are. And this only hurts them because they're sitting around saying, hey, well, where's my trophy? Well, you don't get a trophy. Why? Because you're at the starting line. You say, oh, but I've been here for a long time, so I should be at the finish line. You've been standing still in the race for a long time. You've been waiting when it's your turn. You haven't really been, you've just kind of been there. You're not doing the right work at the right time. So it's true. You have been standing still in the race for a very long time, but that doesn't put you at the finish line. So if you know the steps, you're always, always, always moving forward. You're never stuck. If you are stuck, you know exactly what to apply and how. But rewards come from finishing things. Now, especially, for most people in the beginning of their career and when they're still kind of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about things, they can handle just being a starter, being somebody with a lot of talk. I'm going to open my cacao farm. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to have triplets. I'm going to have a sound healing thing. I'm going to do this. And like, being in that dreamers only stage works for a while, but at some point you want to be somebody that actually has money where their mouth is. And if you're going to scale a business or if you're going to do this for more than a year and then go back to working for somebody else, you have to learn how to handle multiple projects at once. And for me, for a long time, I thought that this was always going to involve hiring people. And actually, I make more money than I ever have before. My team's smaller than it's ever been. We have two part-time assistants that cover email for us, and that's it. And I have a teacher's assistant right now for the RIP who works 1 hour a day doing community management. But other than that, it's just my husband and I. And we make a lot of money with really high margins because the expenses of running our business, like you guys see what it costs me to run my business. I don't run ads. I'm here talking to you guys on Instagram, TikTok, Substack, and Zoom and YouTube. But I'm not running ads. My platform's $400 a month for MailChimp, $60 a month for my app, phone bill, etc. But we do close to $1 million every year. And that's because I'm organized, because I can run multiple systems on the Enneagram. So this changed my life. The purpose of a teacher is to make things go faster for you. But I started learning the Enneagram in 2019, and I started teaching it in 2022. And that's how long I kind of lived with it and sat with it. My goal is to make it go faster for you, but like it is okay to not get it right away. Now, everything in the Enneagram I explained to you in the course. What we're going over on these calls is just the 369 over and over and over again. When this workshop begins after next week's call, then we're going to have a call every Tuesday where I'll answer any questions that you have about the Enneagram, but it's most likely going to be just going over the 369 over and over again and getting it right. How much taxes do I pay? What I can tell you is that I have a great accountant and that I make 100% of my money on the books. What's not your business is how much I pay in taxes. Oh my God, isn't this the woman whose children can't read? Girl, are you watching a video from like 2 years ago? How can we work one-on-one with you? You can't. Okay, TikTok, you guys are new to class. You guys are new to class. So in the first call, we went over everything about how the Enneagram works. Last week's call, we talked about no money down. Now, this was a really, really cool call. It was always fun, but we talked about the importance of profitability in business. We talked about the importance of profitability when you're spiritual, how money and spirituality go hand in hand, how you can't do one without the other. We ran 4 different Enneagrams talking about what happens when you have the intention to be profitable versus not. We talked about the futility of like energy exchange and bartering and all that. And we talked about how on the Enneagram, there's no money down until 0.5. Now, today I'm going to be teaching you guys about black, white, and red magic. And if there's any of the, it's never people of color. It's always some like angry white lady or some like random green witch that's telling me that these are racial terms, black, white, and red magic. This is not correct. They're alchemical terms. So albedo, white, negredo, black, rubedo, red, and then citrinitas, which is gold. We could think of black, white, and red magic as being the 3 triangle points. And then the gold magic, which is sex magic, being the whole, the totality. Now, you can't skip the line. You have to just kind of learn these things one by one. So raise your hand if you've heard of red magic. Raise your hand if you've heard of blood magic, if you know what this is. Cool. So red magic, blood magic is sacrificial magic. This is usually that third type of magic that people have not heard about. And so most people, when they think about magic, they're stuck in this war between Is it black magic or is it white magic? So you say magic to somebody and they go, ooh, well, I'm a white magician. I can't stand white magicians because, first of all, there's no such thing. At least black magicians are not like in denial about the shadow and they'll tell you things straight up. But white magicians genuinely just feel that they have evolved to a level of purity, that they don't make mistakes and that anything can be resolved by them just continuing to purify themselves. The concept of the shadow, the concept of them having a bad side or like it's just not on their radar, and they can go for so long on this delulu and the whole time they've got no results. Like no results. Like it's obvious that it doesn't work. For example, Kundalini yoga. Kundalini yoga is like the greatest example of white magic where they're always asking for a little bit more. So it's like we're wearing all white, we're eating nothing but melons, we're waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and singing long ekankars for 2 hours. We're doing all of these practices, we're taking cold showers. There's always a little bit further that you can go. All right. And does it work? Well, if it worked, would Yogi Bhajan have had to run Andy Warhol art scams? Would he have had to have like toner cartridge scams? If this actually worked, would you have to run scams on the side to make things meet financially? No. And it's because you can't just purify your way. Like in magic, we use everything. To be a white magician is like saying that nighttime is unhealed daytime, where you're like, oh, yes, I hope you get the healing you deserve. Oh, that's your trauma talking, blah, blah, blah. And it's so delusional. And also, like, you got to know that everybody thinks they're doing the right thing. Everyone everywhere thinks that they're right. You are not unique thinking that you're right in this situation. Please let me speak this clearly and please let me not get, I just want to see my class. Okay, cool. Please let me speak this clearly and help me not get distracted by what I think I should be saying. And let me just speak from my heart. Let this be a completely new conversation for me, even though I've taught this so many times. And there's the desire to kind of just let it be mechanical. Let this conversation breathe new life into things. Let me speak things clearly. Let me absorb this new audience without getting distracted and without letting them distract me. Let me stay focused on what it is that I'm here to do, which is impart information and make things go faster for people. Thank you. Got to say that prayer. So everyone everywhere thinks they're right. You're not unique thinking that you're right. You're not unique when you get defensive when somebody says that you're doing something wrong. People that shoot up schools think that they're doing the right thing. People that shoot up mosques think that they're doing the right thing. People that kill their wives and all of their kids think that they're doing the right thing because you were the only right dad for them. Like, it doesn't matter how delusional it is. Like, everybody thinks that they're doing the right thing. Everyone thinks that they're white magician. That's why I prefer the black magicians, because at least they're like, hey, I'm doing something different. I'm working off menu here. I'm not afraid to talk about the things that everyone else is afraid of. Let me give you guys a really good example because this says, ah, this white magician pissed me off so much. I was in New Orleans, which I love New Orleans. And I was in that like famous square, whatever, where like all the psychics are. You guys know, by that like curio shop. And there's a guy that's always there. His name's Voodoo Daddy. And every time I'm in New Orleans, I like to see him. There's Voodoo Daddy. And then next to it was like some like angel card reader or whatever. And I had an hour to myself. So I'm like, cool, I'm gonna go see two psychics. So I go to the person that looks, like when people say black magic, they're like, oh, is it a fucking black person? Is it some like African Yoruba? And it's like, no, that's not. That's just your own interpretations in your head. Black magic means working with the shadow. Black magic means utilizing somebody's fear for magic, and white magic is utilizing somebody's faith for magic. So I go to the voodoo daddy, and he's like, you got to talk about this thing that you don't want to talk about. Goes right into it. He's like, that story from your childhood involving your brother, you don't have to confront him. You don't have to do anything like that. But this story, this is the one that you're needing to share, and you're not sharing it. And this is what your problem is. I say, okay, cool. Then I had some time and I was like kind of on the fence. I'm like, should I go see? And he saw my Enneagram tattoo and he was like, oh, you're all about this shit. I can't wait to see this guy again. I love him. We're going to be in New Orleans at the end of the year, I believe. But he sees my Enneagram tattoo. He's like, oh, you're all about this shit. And he just gives it to me straight. Thank you. Love that. Then I go next door to the lady with her angel card readings and her fucking novena candles and all of her shit. And she sees my Enneagram tattoo. And you know what this bitch fucking says to me? this Mrs. Angel, Mrs. Love and Light, Mrs. fucking White Magician. She's like, sees my Enneagram tattoo, misreads it as a pentagram because, confirmation bias. And I was wearing a black dress at the time, which, didn't fit with her branding. And she said, you used to have a guardian angel, but it left you. And now a demon is guiding you. And you need a cleansing. This fucking whitey, juicy couture, angel reading fucking hoe bag fucking put the black magic on me. God damn, I was so pissed because I was like, oh shit, really? Fuck. And I literally like bought the cleansing and then walked away and realized, fuck, she got fucking gypsy, blocked her number, this fucking bitch. And that was the last time that somebody put their fucking black magic on me. But black magic is sneaky and it comes up when you're aware of it, like it's always being used. For example, all politics are black magic. And the thing about that, like you either understand how it's being used and that's how you can work with it. It's not something you need to protect yourself from. It's useful. It just has to be in its correct position. My favorite book ever on black magic, and probably my favorite book ever, is called The True Believer by Eric Hoffer. It is on the nature of mass movements. This is an incredible book, and it's considered to be like the Bible of advertising. And so, if you've ever seen an ad in your life, the chances of it being connected to black magic in some way, you can learn all about in this book. It's probably like my favorite book that's ever been written. It's fucking awesome. Thoughts on the Nature of Mass Movements, it's called. I swear I'll read like 2 pages of it and then I have to put it down. But when you're aware of it, you can see when it's being used on you and you can just be like, lol, oh yeah, I see what you did there. That's pretty cool. Um, but for example, someone saying it's going to be really hard for you to have a kid. That's black magic. Cancer runs really high in your family. That's black magic. Your kid's gonna do this. Astrologers are weirdly ballsy about the black magic. I've heard of some real horror stories with astrologers, with them being like, your kid is gonna die on this date or this. It's like you plant a fear-based idea knowing that it's just going to spread like wildfire. And the thing is like black magic is so fucking fun. Black magic is my favorite magic ever. And when I was in my black magic era, homie, I have never, if you think that what you want from fame or recognition is to walk into a room and have people love you, you have never walked into a room where people fear you because that is the fucking get down, dude. That shit feels so good. I'm telling you, it feels, especially if you've always been kind of an outsider anyway. And when someone fucks with you to be able, people are so fucking sensitive to outright black magic. They're so fucking afraid of it. Literally anybody. My mom liked black magic. This guy, she like straight up got Nigerian scammed. And my mom threw the Bible at this guy so hard, was literally just quoting Bible verses to him about this guy scammed my mom out of straight $70,000. And to this day is paying her back every Friday by going to 3 different Western unions to send her back $500 at a time. And all she did was just throw the Bible at like over using, my mom's very Christian, but she, black magic, and it works. Scares the shit out of this guy. It's the fear of hell. Like, if you think about churches, what are they talking about more? Are they talking about the rewards and the beauty of heaven, or like the fear and pain of hell? Pain is a much more effective motivator for people than pleasure. You get way more by scaring people out of, oh my God, if you go to the hospital, you're going to have this experience. Don't ever go. It's so much more motivating to do something like that than to tell people, hey, you'll have a really good time having a birth at home. So black magic is so fun and so useful, but I will tell you guys about my black magic era today because I made the mistake of putting black magic at the top of my Enneagram as opposed to keeping it in the passive space. So let's just remind you guys where we've been so far. Who here's been on the Enneagram calls before? Okay. We know that zero point 0.9 is always the neutralizing force. Always, 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 always. And we know that 0.3 is always, always, always passive. And we know that point 6 is always, always, always active. Now, on the Enneagram, we have points and we have lines. Now, a point is milestone 1, milestone 2, milestone 3. A line is the journey from 1 to 2, the journey from 2 to 3, etc. Points are milestones and lines are journeys. So with black, white, and red magic, these are lines of magic. This means that it's the theme. The theme of 1/3 of the journey is going to be white magic. The theme of one line of the journey is going to be black magic. And the theme of 1/3 of a magical process is going to be red magic. Now, a lot of people think that it's just a war between black and white magic. This is what it means to be in level 1. It's just duality, good energy, bad energy, God, the devil, black magicians, white magicians. And, if you ever want to rile up your audience, tell them that there's no objective good, bad, right, wrong. It works every single time. I swear to God, if you're ever wanting to have a little fun. It's very hard for people to understand this because, and don't rush them, don't try and force them, and don't be offended when they get really mad about it because everyone everywhere thinks they're right. That's their whole life right now, is trying to be a good guy and trying not to be a bad guy. And if you ever suggest that the good guy's a bad guy, the bad guy's a good guy, can't handle that. That's second level teachings. That's being enlightened. That's enlightenment. There's 3 enlightenments that you're going to go through in your life. The first one is eating of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. So that's your first spiritual awakening. Raise your hand if you had your first spiritual awakening. And you have the one where you think you're going to go to the psych ward. The one where maybe you did go to the psych ward. You're like, fuck, there's an unseen world. It's like, yep, there's an unseen world. And there's demons and angels, and there's good energy and bad energy, and there's energy vampires, and there's people that do this, and there's angels, and there's empaths, and I'm an angel, and I'm an empath, and all of that world. That's your first awakening. Congratulations, you've had your first awakening. Your second awakening is the same, but it's more grounded. And that's realizing that, like, who created the devil? Who created the devil? God. Now, did God accidentally create some like crazy powerful, like, oh, whoops, now you're so much stronger than me? And like nobody ever prays for the devil. Like no one ever feels bad and like prays for the devil. But the argument between God and the devil is like a non-argument. So that's why they have the Son of God. So it's like, oh, well, Jesus and the devil are in, and duality is a game. Like you need, in order to have a game, you need 2 people willing to play each other. Now God and the devil can't play because God's the top of the triangle, and we'll see the Son and the devil down here warring. And big plot with, because the devil won last time. Jesus died on the cross. And so like there's gonna be a rematch. He's gonna come back and then he's gonna get whooped for sure. And it's like always like rematch season. And I get it, but that's why it's like Jesus and the devil and not God and the devil, because who created the devil? God did. Who has control of the devil? God did. And it's a real slippery slope where you're like, oh, well, maybe God doesn't have control over the devil. Like all of that world of duality can just be shut down by the presence of a third force. That third force is God. All of the duality of white magic and black magic gets shut down by the concept of a third force. That's red magic. Red magic says whoever puts up the sacrifice is going to put up the reward. Now, when it comes to an Enneagram, all magic is objective. So you can use magic for literally whatever the hell you want. If you want to do it to be a black magician like Aleister Crowley, do it. If you want to do it with white magic at the beginning, do it. If you want to do it with red magic at the beginning, do it. But I'm going to tell you how I learned where to put placements. And I'm going to tell you how I learned to do this so that maybe you won't make the same mistakes that I did. But something I need to clarify for you before we start. Again, black magic, white magic, and red magic are lines and they're not points. So each point 0 is going to be a combination of 2 types of magic, one line of the triangle and the other line of the triangle. Point 3 is going to be a combination of 2 magics, this line of the triangle and that line. Point 6 is going to be a combination of 2 magics, this line and that line. So how we do it at our school, and here's why. White magic, we always start with will. You have to have a clear idea of what it is that you want to do. We have to start with faith. I know that this is going to work out. We always have black magic starting here at point three. Always, always, always for us. And this is because black magic will come up naturally. This is where all of your fears come up. And this means you're not doing black magic consciously, you're just working with it when it's set on your table. So, for example, like all of the Hindu deities are always armed. You'll always see that they're holding weapons, but they're not using them. They're not cutting people's heads off. Armed, but not dangerous. This is where we want black magic. I am strapped, but you don't got to worry about me because I'm not going to torment you with, flexing my power because also it just doesn't work. Jesus Christ loves me. Jesus Christ loves you. That's great. That's great news. That's great news. Now, red line of magic, we always have here. So after you establish your will, this is what I want to happen. This is what I'm willing to do to make it happen. And we go through all of the fears. Here's why it could never happen. And we use that. So for example, if you say, I'm going to write a book. I have 200 followers. I'm going to sell it for $20 and I'm going to make $1 million off of this. Black magic is going to say, honey, even if all 200 people bought that book for $20, you still would not have $1 million. If you were a white magician doing Kundalini yoga, they're like, well, there's something that we can do. And like Yogi Bhajan says, it's not lying when you're on the phone telling somebody to buy a fake Andy Warhol because your auras are not touching. You'll come up with some fucking whack shit like that. And who's the white magician? Who's the black magician? I mean, I guess it depends on whose aura is like prolapse today, And if it actually worked, you wouldn't have to do that. And if black magic on its own actually worked, then Aleister Crowley wouldn't. Aleister Crowley's like the most famous black magician of all time. He would not have died broke, alone, addicted to heroin, penniless. That wouldn't have been the case. And if red magic, Tantra is a really good example of red magic, and Osho is a really good example of probably the most famous red magician. If red magic worked all by itself, then so many of Osho's followers wouldn't have died from ODs. There wouldn't have been orgies all over the place and wouldn't have gotten so sloppy at the end when Osho was addicted to nitrous and Percocets. And again, once you get on that slippery slope of like anything goes and you don't have it tempered with other types of magic because you're trying to use one magic and one magic only, it gets really sloppy and then you validate it with whatever whack shit you can find. So like Osho's like, look, like I'm not the best teacher that I could be, but that's because Buddha is trying to incarnate in me, but Buddha doesn't like my jacuzzi. So that's why we have a conflict here because I'm an incarnation of the Buddha, but the Buddha doesn't like my jacuzzi. And that was like literally his validated and verified excuse for why he was going off of the deep end with nitrous and Percocets. Now, how many of you guys have been around people on drugs? Please raise your hand. Now, how many people here have done drugs? Please raise your hand. I'm not a cop. Bro, I think everybody needs to take some drugs because a lot of you guys are very inspired. A lot of you guys are very inspired by people that are like on drugs. You're like, he's a genius. That's what it sounds like when you're tweaking. That's what it sounds like. This is drug logic. Knowing when somebody's on drugs is very helpful because stupid things seem like really good ideas when you're on drugs. My husband and I, the whole time I was in labor with my daughter, I was having very emotional, we had a free birth, so it was just like my husband and I, super emotional labor with my daughter, Tyga. I could not believe I was in for another 1-star birth, my third 40-hour labor. I was so fucking pissed, but we ended up talking about like all the times we've been arrested on drugs. And we were talking about meth, and like the slogan with meth is that like the mission chooses you. Like meth will give you the strength to complete the mission, no matter what the mission is. Like if you got to drag a cash register through the forest, like meth will make sure that that mission gets done. If you need to carry your friend across a Tijuana border in high heels, meth will make sure you get it done. If you need to rescue a dumpster full of VHS tapes and bring it all the way from Harlem to the Lower East Side, meth will make sure you can get it done. The only caveat with meth is that you don't actually get to choose the mission. The mission chooses you. You don't actually have the choice of what it is that you're going that you're going to be doing. Only little like caveat here. Cool. I just got restricted on TikTok for talking about that. But we were talking about drugs because we were talking about birth, about how birth is like waiting on a drug dealer that you've never met before, and you're trying not to piss off, and you're like out in the sticks, and you're trying to be cool. Hey, whenever you want to get here, it's fine. We're just chilling, but actually you're like fiending. You're like, dude, like, let's go. Um, mission chooses you. So why are we talking? Oh yeah, but it's helpful to know when people are on drugs because then you won't be fucking praising them like a god when actually they're just high. And this is also relevant for yourself if you've never ever taken drugs before and you're brand new to like the world of plant medicine, you will probably think of yourself as a messiah when actually you're just high all the time because that's what it feels like to be on drugs, homie. Yeah, you ever seen Almost Famous? I'm a golden god. I'm on drugs. That's literally what happens. And that's not you being awakened. That's just you being on drugs. So being able to differentiate this for yourself is going to be helpful for the mission that you're actually here to do. So let me tell you about when I started off with Black, White, and Red Magic, and I decided to make red magic the focal point of all of my existence. I was studying a lot of Tantra. I was studying a lot of Osho and, the opera, a lot of Sadhguru, a lot of Ram Dass, and surrender, surrender, surrender was my go-to. So when you're starting off with red magic, when you say, I'm going to do the red magic line first, here's what happens. And also, you guys learned this from me in the call, and actually both calls, that if your math is wrong for some reason, you're not going to be able to get past point three. So if you've made a mistake, don't worry, you'll be able to go back and recorrect by point three, but you're not going to move past point three until you get your math right. So this is why having an Enneagram to kind of map your mission out before you get started on it is really helpful. It'll take you when you're brand new to Enneagrams, it might take you 45 minutes to draft an Enneagram. When you're brand new to Enneagrams, homie, it's going to take you like 2 weeks to even just be clear about what the fuck it is that you actually want. And if this is the case, please watch the video from last week where we talk about, look, it's okay to say you want a profitable business. It's okay to say that you want to make money. It's okay to just get clear about what it is that you're actually trying to achieve. But when I started off with red magic is surrender the plan, surrender the plan. So instead of starting with a plan and saying, I want to buy a house, I was saying, God, like bring me whatever you want. I have no plan. I'm just surrendered. I'm just going with the flow. Who here has ever gone belly up surrender mode and it went really bad? Who here ever read the surrender experiment, took it to the max, and it's like, why is nothing happening? That's because you started with red magic. You can't surrender the plan if there was never a plan. You can't surrender the plan if there was never a plan. You can't surrender something that's not yours. You can't make a sacrifice of something that's not yours. So, for example, if you're like, I'm going to donate $1 million, $1 billion of Jeff Bezos's money. Sorry, you can't do that. It's not your money. That money has no significance to you. It's just numbers for you. It doesn't represent milestones that you've achieved, work that you've done, inspiration that you had. It's got nothing to do with you. It's just random. A sacrifice has to be something that actually burns. So when you're starting with red magic, you're trying to sacrifice something that you don't have. Now, if you were to put red magic as the third line at the end, that last stretch, you're sacrificing, you're putting up on the altar your attachment to the outcome. You're saying, okay, look, I've worked through my fears. I've established my will. Bring me who you would have me serve, and I'm going to do the best that I can. That's a good place to put it. But if you're trying to start with it, it's going to go really badly. So what this looked like with me and my husband, and unfortunately, I did this one time not knowing what I was doing, and then did it a second time knowing full well that I was doing red magic, but I just didn't know that it was in the wrong spot. When I learned about red magic, it obliterated the idea of black and white magic for me. I was like, cool, I'm going to throw away these two and I'm going to focus on this one. And I didn't realize that I was supposed to use them all together. I was like, get this fucking black and white magic out of here, homie. Just red magic for me. It didn't go good. So what it looked like was my husband and I driving, so cringe, from Texas all the way up to Virginia, asking the universe where we should buy our house, not getting clear about our budget because God will provide, not thinking about where we wanted to live because God's gonna show us. We drove all the way with two kids in the truck, all of our possessions fucking stuck in a trailer, not a trailer that you live in, like a pull behind trailer, We drove all the way from Texas to Washington, D.C., and then we were going to go up to New York, but it didn't feel like the universe wanted us to do that because it was winter time. So instead of just buying fucking winter jackets, we turned around and drove all the way back to Texas. And then I started doing black magic. So if we had just been clear, this is how much money we have and this is where we want to live, and we had a plan. We want to live in a beautiful house and we want to live in upstate New York. It would have been fine. But I was like, it's not spiritual to have a plan. I'm starting with red magic. And this shit drove me fucking crazy, you guys. Like it really drove me crazy. So I decided to like take the bull by the horns. And when I got to Texas during the winter time there, I was like, fuck this. Fuck this. I don't care how I get what I want. I'm just going to get what I want. I don't give a fuck. I'm going full on black magic. And homie, the looks were so good. I was learning a lot about propaganda. I was having a lot of fun. I said, fuck it. I'm just going to be a black magician. Like, I don't give a shit. Now, what this looked like is that when black magic is your motivating force, everything is coming from the desire to control. So everything is coming from the desire to control. And I was working with Ifa a lot back then, which is like my favorite. If I were to ever devote myself to one lineage, it would definitely be Ifa. Like it's so beautiful. I swear to God. It puts me in such denial that I'm not black. Like I really feel in my bones. Like I'm like, no, like there is something ancestral in me that's like being called on with this practice. And I've done my DNA. Like I got none of that, but there is no religion to me more beautiful than Ifa. There's basically like 240 some odd different orishas and there's no demons. And so everything is a sign that like you're working with God in some way. So when the wind blows, it's Oya, and when it rains, it's Oshun, and when the thunder goes off, it's Shango. There's when you see white clouds, it's Elawa. When you see it's like everything reminds you of God in some way. So you get beautifully like swept up in this world. I've never lived in a more beautiful world. I swear to God. And I was hanging out. I'm friends with a priestess for a long time, who was the first ever priestess of Ifa. It wasn't permitted for women to practice it for a long time. She was Cuban. She was she had like a full blown pet wolf. But I decided to just try to scare people into giving me what I wanted. So, scaring my coaching clients, if you don't work with me, this is going to happen to you. Scaring my customers, if you don't listen to what I'm saying, this is going to happen to you. And this whole time, like I was like, I'm enlightened, don't worry. Really going crazy on leaving Airbnbs early, being furious when they wouldn't give me a refund, being determined to control it, really like my ultimate cringe era. And then it really, where you don't have control. That's what red magic teaches you is like you have the illusion of control sometimes, but you really don't have control. And who you are when you're not in control is like who you actually are and where your actual work is. Like you're not the spiritual person that you think you are. Everything's fine and dandy for you until things aren't going your way. And that's when you start going psycho. That's when you start flipping out at people. That's when you start reading your tarot cards 4 times a day. That's when you start that's when stupid things start to sound like really good ideas. That's when you get crazy and nasty. That's when you start yelling at your family. That's when you start relapsing on shit. Who you are when things are out of your control is like who you actually are, because nothing is in your control. And on the odd chance that you're reminded that like you are a very small happening on a very big organism, like you really don't take it that well. And I was not taking it that well at all, because no matter how much black magic I did, and no matter how perfectly I executed these rituals, and no matter how many sacrifices I made and how many little things that I did, I wasn't controlling anything. And you guys want to know where it got really out of hand for me? I was going to gym a lot. I was going to gym a lot, and it was like kind of like a ratchet gym, but that was like where I was hanging out at the time. I don't drink, but geez, I almost started on that journey. But in Austin in 2017, I was at a sweat lodge, and the sweat lodge elder tried to rape me, and there was only one other person there. And so I reported it to that person. And I found out like 2 years, I was wondering why the whole thing was handled so poorly with them blaming me and also blaming my partner. It would have been so easy to just kick this one guy who had a really long track record of doing this to women at sweat lodges, but he was like the peyote supplier, so nobody wanted to like interrupt that pipeline. But it would have been so easy to just tell this guy like, hey, like, no. Did it positively reshape my life? Yes, it did. Was it very painful? Yeah, it was very painful. But I was wondering why the case was handled so poorly. And it was because the guy that I reported it to just immediately filed it under like, she's lying. So I thought that he was passing along the report to the higher ups or whatever. And actually, he was just passing along a story of I was lying. And I didn't find out until like 2 years later, where I was talking to my mother in law, and she said, oh, yeah, I ran into this guy right after you and Magic started dating in the grocery store. And he told me that you were lying about this thing. And I hadn't even told him yet. So that's how I found out. So I run into this guy at the gym and I'm fucking pissed. And I'm also pissed because my husband's not really standing up for me. He goes up and tells the guy he forgives him. I'm like, beat his ass. Fucking beat his ass, you know? Don't tell him you forgive him. Fucking beat his ass. What's your fucking problem? And I was pissed. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to control this situation. If you're not going to stand up for me, I'm going to stand up for myself. So I took this guy out to the parking lot and I had some words with him, pretty chill. But then I got kicked out of the fucking gym. And I was so mad at the manager because she said that she had been raped before. But I was like, wait, I'm confronting somebody that literally did this and you're going to get me in trouble and I can't control this. I was so fucking pissed. So I started fucking with her. Second violation on my TikTok. Sorry, you guys. That's why I can't be on TikTok. But I was like, this is fucking bullshit. So I started messing with her because I was in my black magic. You're a homie. You put a little bit of pepper on this thing. You just put a little bit of pepper. All I did was send her a little text message and said, I have a piece of your hair. And she fucking freaked out. And that felt so good to me. Yes, now she's fucking shaking in her boots, and I'm just saying random shit. I got a piece of your hair, but I can put this little fear in. And I know that every time something bad happens to her, because in life, bad shit happens, but I know that every time bad shit happens to her, she's going to be like, oh my God, it's Onami. And then I'm also giving myself credit every time something I'm saying it's me. And actually, like, life is just lifing. But whatever you put out, you make yourself susceptible to. So when she said, and at the time, someone had called CPS on me, thank God, because I was being a reckless hoe. I was smoking a shit ton of weed. I was talking about eroticism. I got CPS called on me for weed, and I'm literally putting pictures of fucking weed on my Instagram. But one thing you guys know about me is I'm always going to be straight up about whatever's going on with me. So when weed was what was going on with me, that's what I was showing. But I'm always going to tell you exactly what's going on. But the weed wasn't the allegation. Their allegation said I was a sex worker. And it's really, you can't be a sex worker with your kids, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a sex worker. But that was a really hard case. Well, it was an easy case to overturn, but emotionally it was hard for me. And that's what got me to quit smoking weed. But I'm telling this lady that I got a piece of her hair while I have a CPS case open against me. And she's like, I'm going to call the cops on you. And my black magic makes you super susceptible to black magic. You put fears. Like if I had told that angel reader lady, I see a demon behind your shoulder, you need a cleansing, she would have probably panicked and fallen for that too. Because it makes you susceptible to it. When you're putting curses and hexes out on people, you believe in a world where curses and hexes can be put on people. So like think about Azalea Banks, like read Azalea Banks and all of her stories of like all of the money that she spent because she's certain that people are hexing her. Like she's certain that Beyonce is hexing her and putting hexes on her, even though she's like the most powerful, whichever. And it's like, no, girl, you're just like crazy jealous. You're crazy talented, but you're crazy jealous. And you're wasting so much time in this world of like hexing and being hexed. Cause like you could just make a sick album that sounded like you and wasn't trying to compete with anyone else like you used to. But this whole world of like hexing and being hexed makes you super volatile and it makes you super insecure because you have these moments where you feel like you really are controlling things, but it's just the illusion of control. So when you're losing control, you're like, oh, well, I have to do a better ritual. Or maybe I've like pissed off at God that I don't know about and I need to make it right. And it's just, it really rapidly lends itself to paranoia. And the thing about black magic too is that when you're making it your number one priority, like Aleister Crowley, it's basically like with white magic, if you were doing magic holistically, you would go looking for your inner God and you would find your inner devil. And once you move through your inner devil, you realize that you have a light side and you have a shadow side, but that you're held by something larger. You're held by space, you're held by God, you're held by unconditional love that allows you to like do great things and also make mistakes and still be worthy. So that's the goal, is to go looking for your inner God, finding your inner devil, and then surrendering to something higher than both of these little parts of you. If you make black, but when you're stuck in one kind of magic, you go looking for your inner God, you find your inner devil, and you freak out and you run away and you get stuck there. With black magic, like in the Aleister Crowley style, it's like you go looking for your inner devil, you find your inner God. But it's the same thing, just reverse. They're like, no, 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 no. I'm basically just trying to do all of the taboos that I can. And anytime there's a new taboo, I'm going to go in and tickle that. How far can I push myself? How far can I push my disciples? How far can I push things? How far can I push things? And the thing is you can't push it very far because you find your inner God, you freak out at the inner God the same way the inner God people freak out at the inner devil, and you go running back. You're meant to move through these things, but there's only one configuration in magic where you can move through it and not get stuck. So when I put up, when I, dude, that was a big mess to clean up. And that is when my second career really began. When I had it, because guys, I was doing all of this publicly, literally all of it. I was maxing out my stories every single day. Luckily, my Instagram got deleted right after that. My TikTok got deleted right after that. TikTok got deleted, Instagram gone. No way of getting these things back. And luckily, I was able to take about 3 days to really search my soul at the time. And the sobriety from weed was really, I haven't smoked weed since then. That was May 15th, 2022. I haven't smoked weed since then. It was really starting to sink in that I was going to have to do things differently. And that's when I swore that I would never do black magic intentionally again. So, what does black magic look like when you're not doing it intentionally? You're just using it when it's there? Let me tell you guys. We're teaching this workshop on the Enneagram. My 50% off code for it is coming up today. And on the 19th of June, it's not going to be available anymore. If you don't act within that time frame, you're not going to be able to get live calls and you're not going to be able to pay half price. Am I scaring you with scarcity? No. This is just the term. This is just what we're doing. Now, if I was doing black magic intentionally, I can't finish the sentences, but I would start with, if you don't do this, you can expect to be this. You can expect to be that. You'll never have this. You'll never have that. None of that's true. If you're interested in it, it's going to be for you. If you're interested in it, we're going to offer it on really great terms. If you miss this window, it's not going to be available till next year. Simple. Black magic always comes up passively and you can use it then. But if you're going into things with the desire to control, with the desire to take somebody's fear and manipulate it to get what you want, it's really easy to do. And it's really, really addictive. And it feels really good. And I swear to God, it blows up in your face each and every time. It blows up in your face horribly. So let's just do one more note about sacrificial magic, and then we'll look at a couple different Enneagrams here. I will take I have a request from yesterday to do an Enneagram on co-parenting, and we'll talk about what the white, black, and red line with that is. We're not going to talk about points on this one. We're going to talk about lines. But when it comes to blood magic, sacrificial magic, it has to be something of yours that's being sacrificed. So whoever gets sacrificed is going to get the reward. So like historically, when there was human TikTok, hold on to your fucking panties, okay? Because I'm going to be talking about something that's going to be my third violation. And this is what I like TikTok. I'm not trying to lump you guys into it, but you guys aren't usually here on these adult conversations because I get so fucking censored for talking about. I wasn't even talking about anything crazy. I was talking about beating some A in a parking lot. I was talking about doing a little crank. Like it's not really, we're adults here, right? But TikTok is very sensitive about this thing. But when it comes to human sacrifice, historically, I'm not going to be able to do that for very long. When it comes to that type of sacrifice, historically, the people were volunteering to do it because they wanted the reward. They genuinely believed in the culture at that time that not only are you providing this immense reward to the community, but you as the individual that is going to Valhalla or that's going up in the sky with Ketchel or whatever religious practice that involved, they wanted to do it because you get a reward for being the sacrifice, for being the tribute. So it wasn't this situation like they wanted to do it. And I used this analogy last time we talked about it. Like if you think about the Aztec pyramids and how high I walked those pyramids, walking up the Aztec pyramids is very, very steep, very intense. And the purpose is to have your heart beating like crazy so that when they out of you, it would be beating quite intensely. And then they throw your corpse down the side of it. Um, you can't march somebody up all of those stairs that doesn't want to go. You can't march somebody up all those stairs that doesn't want to go. They wanted it on some level. When people and some people are like, "Oh, animal sacrifice." So you make, having an animal take the blow for you. No, that was people sacrificing their meat for all of winter. It's always been an animal, one animal for sale. That's a lot of steaks. That's a lot of pork chops. That's a lot of lamb chops. That's a lot of meat. To sacrifice an entire animal and not eat it as a smoke offering because the smell of the offering goes up and that's how you bring the thing to God, but it cannot be eaten. It's completely offered up to something else. That always represented something that was very dear to you. And in a sense, this was why the Upanishads are the people that invented meditation. That's why the Upanishads invented meditation, because it used to be that only rich people could ever talk to God because they were the only ones that could ever make offerings. They'd take something really expensive and they'd throw it into the fire and they'd say swaha, and then basically they get to make a wish for the gods to like them. And poor people couldn't do that. So the Upanishads were like, fuck all y'all, we're going to go out into the woods and we're just going to be still and we're just going to meditate and see what happened. And that's where all of the teachings of meditation came from people being like, this doesn't work. And they were making the sacrifice of chit chat, the sacrifice of living with other people, the sacrifice of being busy with your hands all the time and actually saying, you know what, I'm just going to sit and I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to see. And it was a really simple philosophy. They were like, look, when you go to sleep, you're in dreamland and you have different powers there. So what we're going to try and do is create a situation where we go to sleep while we're awake. That's what meditation is. Trying to put yourself in a sleep state while being completely conscious and able to observe what's going on. It's really not that. You try and go to sleep, but stay awake. And if you're like, oh, I'm really not good at meditation, oh, yes, you are. Because every time you go to bed at night, unless you're like, I mean, even if you are going to bed with your phone, it's kind of hard because if you go to bed with your phone, when you turn off your phone, you're just replaying the things that you've seen on your phone because your mind is super full. But like if you were to put your phone up a little bit earlier, when you go to bed, your mind is really busy. But at some point, you're like, that's it. Everyone shut up. I'm going to bed now. And you sweep your mind clean. Nod your head if you've ever done this. We're like, that's it. It's bedtime. The end. And when you can't go to sleep because you're up all night, it's because you're not able to do this because the thoughts are so persistent. But you're really good at meditation. You're really good at just sweeping the desk clean and saying, okay, now I got to do this. But that's how all of this practice started. But whoever makes the sacrifice gets the reward. You can't sacrifice something that's not yours. You can't make a donation of Jeff Bezos's money. And I think that a really good example, if I get banned from TikTok for this, I get banned from TikTok for this. But I think a really good example of this is Hitler. Hitler wanted very much to have pride for Germany, but he tried his initial plan. Back then, all war used to be blood magic. So it was really like, how many of our own patriots can we work up with black magic into a political psychosis and get them to go defending the country, fighting someone else's war, to die in literal, horrible, hand to hand combat, dying alone, crying for their mom on the battlefield for the sake of patriotism. When people are really dissatisfied with their own life, they tend to align themselves to like a bigger cause or a bigger entity. And so your race, your gender, your country, your star sign, these are all things that you can attach yourself to when you feel like a weakling by yourself. And mass movements always are able to quite easily pick people up and enlist them for this cause. But basically, all wars were fought on the premise of blood sacrifice. Who's willing to put up the biggest? They're putting the antes in, the antes of people. All sacrifice this many of our people. All sacrifice this many of our people. And so Hitler's original plan was to sacrifice more Germans than ever to bring pride to Germany and reset things after World War One, but he ran out of Germans really fast. And so the entire concept of the genocide of the Jews was called the final solution. And the final solution was like, okay, well, we'll just take blood from somewhere else because magic always, there's always a loophole in magic, but if there's a loophole, the person that's going to fall into it is you. So there's always like in occultism, like, oh, there's a empty 13th seat. There's all these little like clues and stuff. The 13th tribe of Judah, the stepson from another race. There's always some little like loophole. But if there's a loophole, you're going to be the one that falls into it. And so the loophole that Hitler was trying to use was like, oh, well, can't I just sacrifice German Jews? Can't I just put up a big sacrifice in that way and we'll win? And it always seems to be working in the short term, like every single time. You're like, oh my God, look at this. And then it blows up horribly. And whoever makes the sacrifice is going to get the reward. So I'm not saying that the Jews were rewarded with genocide, that was their reward being in the concentration camps. No, absolutely not. But in the long term, Germany is still paying the price for all of the shame and all of the tragedy that they inflicted on the Jews. And the Jews will always have, being the survivors of the Holocaust, they will always have this on their sleeve. They will always have this in their corner to the point where, quite honestly, they can do it to Palestine and not feel like anyone can question them about that. So I'm apolitical. I don't, it's just what it is. Magic is just used the way that magic is used. But if you sacrifice something that's not yours, they get the reward and not you. So when it comes time to put a sacrifice down, you have to really think about what it is that that you should be giving up, that you don't want to, that you're clinging to. You're saying, oh my God, there's nothing I can do. I've been stuck here for so long. Yeah, bitch, you've been stuck here drinking and smoking weed for so long. So why don't you stop drinking and smoking weed and see what happens? Why don't you put in a little discipline? Why don't you take away your favorite thing and see how you do without it? And like, I've been sober for 9 years from alcohol. I've been sober since 2022 from weed. There's not a lot that I can give up now besides food and coffee. I've been really thinking about smoking cigarettes again. But then it'd just be something else that I have to give up. I've quit so many things at this point, you guys, that I just don't want to do it. So let's talk about how black, white, and red magic work together in an event. I have one Enneagram here, and this is for co-parenting. So what is something that you're trying to figure out, something hard that you're trying to do? I'm going to give another one here because almost everybody has this one: build a profitable business. Even if you can't say it, you guys, whether it's like have a successful rebrand or build a profitable healing center, or you can't even say the word profitable because it's too like white magic for you. I'm going to do this one for you: build a profitable business. But I'll check here. What the fuck is red magic? Sacrificial magic. I love smoking cigarettes too, but I just don't. I don't know. I guess I've just done it, I'm a smoke girl though. I love incense. I have papers d'harmonie all over the place. These little things smell exactly like Paris. Oh my God, they're so good. Oh, maybe I'll light one right now. Okay, please explain. I am explaining. Oh, let me go to Zoom. I haven't seen your videos in so long. The smell gets me with cigarettes too. I love it. If cigarettes tasted the way that they smelled, I would be all over it, but they smell so good. And then I put them in my mouth and I smoke it, and I really have to struggle through it. And I know that if I struggle through it, eventually I'm going to like the taste. But then when I like the taste, I'm going to want to smoke them all the time. And then I'm going to smoke them all the time, and then I'm going to have to quit cigarettes. And I've done that before, and that was a pain in the ass. So I'm just going to do two here: build a profitable business. And I'm going to do co-parenting as well. So we're going to start with the white line. The white line of magic is about will. The black line of magic is about fear. And the red line of magic is about surrender. White line of magic is about what? Will. That's right. Black line of magic is about what? Fear. Correct. Red line of magic is about what? Surrender. So it's like in Twin Peaks, there's the White Lodge and the Black Lodge that are like fighting with each other, but everyone has to meet up in the red room. Whether you're a black magician or a white magician, you're going to have to put up a sacrifice. There's no two ways about it. And black, you can't say, oh, well, I do black and red. Red magic is the third force. Black and white magic, everyone's born into that. Everyone's born into duality. Red magic and the awareness of it is something that you earn, and then you have to use all three together. So, oh, sorry, you guys. Why is my thing broken over here? My bad. All right. I smoked my annual cigarette with my husband last night and it tasted so good and now I can't get the taste out. Yeah, I know. But then that annual cigarette, then it has so much meaning, right? Oh, it's my annual cigarette. It's my so special. And it's like, it's just a cigarette. But now it's become this whole big thing. You'll surrender fear. Yeah, sure you will. Sure, that's a big one. The best thing to surrender, because you're always going to, here's the thing. You can't surrender fear. Fear is black magic. It's an inherent part of every practice. Fear is good. It's only white magicians that are like anti-fear, that think that like having fear is being unhealed in some way. Like fear is a great thing to have. Your fear that no one's going to buy your product is totally valid. It's going to give you a better product. Your fear that your birth might not go the way that you want it to go will lead you to get more educated. You need fear. The best thing to surrender always, always, always is attachment to the results. And you know, attachments to results are tangible, they have weight, they have a measurement. When you've started your process with, this is the result I want, and when you've worked really hard through all the fear to get the result that you want, when it's time for red magic and surrender, you say, I know I will get this result eventually. I am willing to keep working at it until I get the result. If I don't get the result on this round, I'm not going to say, fuck you, God, I quit. I'm going to keep trying again. I'm going to keep trying again, and I'm going to keep trying again. So when it comes to co-parenting, we have the co-parenting arrangement, which we'll put this up at the top. We're going to talk about points. So 0.09, not the white line, not the black line, not the red line, but 0.9, where we're starting on the clock, would be the co-parenting arrangement. You want to be able to let the child have both parents, but not together at the same time, because you guys can't do that. That's all right. Whatever it is, that's fine. But co-parenting is agreeing that the child's going to have two parents. Now, look, if you couldn't control your husband when sex was involved, thinking that you can now control them when sex is not involved, but the courts are, you can't control them, period. So it's not going to make, you can protect your peace a little bit more, but you still can't control them. You had the greatest chance of controlling them and getting them to do what you want when when you had sex as a bargaining chip. But just like, oh, I'm going to take you to court. They know you don't want to go to court. They know that the co-parenting arrangement is what it is. And like people make mistakes. So the goal is to have a co-parenting arrangement where you can rely on them, the child can rely on them, and they also want this with you. Now, everyone thinks they're doing the right thing. So anytime you're saying, and if you've ever been in this argument with your baby daddy, you're always so shocked. You're like, well, I'm going to tell the court that you're a bad parent. They're like, yeah, well, I'm going to tell them about that one incident with you. Your lowest low as a mom, that worst time. And you're like, oh, he's crazy. And then it becomes absolutely vicious. But the governing force in this situation would need to be the understanding that we want the child to have both parents, not you and your clone of you that does exactly what you say. We want the child to have two different parents. We want them to be able to have a masculine presence and a feminine presence. Someone that says yes and somebody that says no. Someone that makes things bigger so we can look at it and examine what's not being said, and someone that makes things smaller and says it is what it is. We want the child to have both. If we didn't want the child to have both, it would not be co-parenting. Then down here, the 3 and the 6, to the husband, they're the active force saying yes, and you're the no force saying no. To you, you're the yes force saying yes, and they're the no force saying no. Neither of you are right. That's why we have the mediator, which is the mediator, which is the arrangement itself. Also, for anybody that's nervous about CPS, I have to tell you, CPS was such a positive experience in my life because I know that CPS is not trying to take kids away from their parents. And how do I know this? I was in a very abusive home and I wished that CPS would take me and give me to other people. They tried to keep the children with the parents as much as possible. But when you go into a CPS inquisition with hostility and refusal to cooperate, they think you're hiding something and they will literally just come back with legal and warrants. I'm very lucky that when CPS was called on me, I knew my rights. I looked them up on the internet. I took a deep breath and I welcomed them into my home. When they said drug test, I said, yes, of course. When they said, can we have a look around? I said, yes, of course. If I had gotten a lawyer, they would have just said, we're taking the kids out of custody while you figure this shit out for as long as it takes. You really, people from the internet called CPS on me. People from the internet called CPS on me, and CPS was watching me on the internet for a long time before they decided to come and knock on the door and see what was going on. And I was doing a lot wrong at that time. So, based on what they were seeing from the internet, they were like, you know what? I think that we need to go check this lady out because she's smoking a lot of weed around her kids all the time. But somebody's calling CPS and saying she's a bad mom. And I'm saying, no, that's not true. I'm a good mom. And it's CPS's job not to listen to either of us. This is not a war between me and you saying good mom, bad mom. CPS is here to say, what are the metrics for actual abuse? Are they happening here? It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what I say. They're here to be the neutralizing force. If you make a demon out of CPS, you're going to have a really bad time with them. It's going to go bad for you. Look at any CPS case that has gone bad. It's because of this in some way. If you take your kid to the hospital and they're like, get a second opinion or I'm calling CPS, just fucking just do it because they literally will do that. It's the same with co-parenting though. Dad says you're a bad mom, you say you're a good mom. You say he's a bad dad, he says he's a good dad. So the point of the co-parenting arrangement where the white line, what you want, meets the red line of what it is that you have to surrender control to, this is where it all begins. Now, it doesn't matter who's what over here. It doesn't matter who's on the black line of magic saying no or who's on the red line of magic saying yes. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you understand that you guys are here to take turns and that you cannot control. The point of turns is that when it's that parent's turn, you surrender control. So the white line of magic, let's imagine that this is starting with you, but just know that your co-parent could have the same fucking arrangement about you. It starts with you. You're saying, this is the parenting strategy that I want. And the parenting strategy that you want is your parenting strategy. All of the TikToks you've watched, all of the books that you've read, all of the things that you do that you like, ignoring all of the things that you don't like. But you say, I want to have a co-parenting arrangement, which means that everybody that's parenting my kid is going to be a clone of me. Unfortunately, you can't have that. And when you get to the black magic line, you are going to learn that having your influence alone might not be the best for that kid, especially if they were already connected to their father figure or whatever. What's true is you can do it your way when it's your turn. But what's not up to you is that when you pass that child off to their other parent, it is their turn and you need to step back. You cannot micromanage. You can't take that whole weekend saying, oh, I bet he's just feeding them crap and this and that and trying to turn that child against the other parent so that they'll want to be with you more. trying to sacrifice the other parent so that you can get the reward. That's not how it works. What needs to be sacrificed is your desire to control every moment of that child's life. When you try to turn, who here ever had a parent that was trying to get you against the other parent? Did it work or did it make you just want to be with them more? It just makes you want to be with that parent more. You want whoever's not there. So if you are trying to use fear and manipulation to turn that child against their parent, even subtly, you know when you're doing it because it has a taste. Oh, daddy's always like that, isn't he? Like, you know the taste of it when you're doing something like this. So on the white line of magic, you understand that you can do yours the best that you can. On the black line of magic, you're going to go through all of the fears of what is going to happen if I'm not controlling this whole situation. What am I afraid is going to happen? And what might they be, if they could say the same thing about me? You might even be learning about this white and black magic junction from being in arguments with your co-parent. You're a bad dad. Oh, well, you're a bad mom. Yeah, but what would the courts think if I told them about this? And they'd say, well, what does the courts think if I told them about this? You guys both have dirt on each other. That's why there's two parents. You guys can each be great while still making mistakes. When it comes to the red line of magic, that's when you hand that child off. That's when you hand that child off and they go with the other parent for the weekend. And you can decide how you want to be in that situation. You can either be stressing out all weekend. You've established your will, you've talked about all of your fears, but when it is time to hand that child off, you need to say it's their turn with their dad. It's their turn with their dad. And what they want to do, if they want to eat out of boxes, if they want to do all their grocery shopping at Rite Aid, if they want to watch video games all day, if they want to do whatever the thing is, I trust that they are getting what they need from each other. I trust that this is what co-parenting looks like. If they can't be available when I need them to be available because that's just what they're offering me right now, then this is what it's going to be. I can either try and control it the whole way through or I can try and be amicable about it. And honestly, where I have seen these things go so wrong is by people not understanding that if you couldn't control that man with your pussy, you cannot control that man with the law. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. At some point, even with all of the threats, you could be in courtrooms forever. You could be chasing child support forever. If you want to have if the child needs two parents in their life, even more than like you actually want them to have two parents in their life, you're going to have to surrender that like you're not the only parent in that situation and that people make mistakes and you make mistakes too. This is just what it means. Anyways, somebody asked me to do this a while ago and then it came up yesterday. So, all right, it is time. This person here, do I want to make a comment on unschooling to TikTok? No, because TikTok needs to learn how to respond, needs to learn how to respect what we're talking about here. So this was the third of four calls that we're doing on the Enneagram. And I am putting this on sale and I'll talk to you guys more about that via email. If you're interested in learning the Enneagram, there's a lot to learn. What I'm covering very consistently in these calls with you is a 369, white, black, and red magic, and how this applies to everything. But every point and every line has significance. Every point and every line has significance, and I will explain every point and every line to you. But it takes about an hour per point. And then we're doing homework on it. I'm teaching you guys how to draw Enneagrams, how to map them out, and then I'm showing up to help you with your homework just like this every single week. You guys are telling me what it is that you're struggling with, and we're doing it together until you've got it perfectly. Now, not everybody cares to learn something like this, but if you do care to learn something like this, I'm the only one that can teach you. I'm the only one that's teaching this. This is my thing. I teach things that nobody else does. I will put it on sale for you. You can use the code 369 and you'll be really happy to get that 50% discount. I will be here every Tuesday teaching you, and you have 2 weeks to decide. We have one more call, and then that's going to be a wrap for our free Enneagram content. So I'm going to say see you soon to each and every one of you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Substack, for your patience, even when the switch to podcast. Thank you. And to my friends on Instagram, you guys are so helpful to me all the time. Thank you so much. And to my friends on TikTok, you guys are new here. Thank you for being here. Very engaged. You guys paid really good attention today. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of myself for not being I'm not going to do the business one because we did so many of those last time. But I white line of magic would be this is my business plan. Black line of magic is all the reasons why the business plan wouldn't work. And red line of magic is bring me who you would have me serve in a nutshell. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys next week.